You are listening to a Pod Bros exclusive.
Brand new episode of Take Aim Outdoor Podcast is here, and excited to get this Christmas show out to everybody. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Excited to do what we're going to call 2016 By the Numbers with Cam Coble. What's up, Cam?
Oh, not much. Just sitting there looking at this notebook. I scribbled some numbers down and some beer, all the pictures of that on my phone. I had to reorganize the other day, and I got a bunch of them on each side of the paper I'm looking at here, but there'll be some come through after the year's over and season's over in some states yet. But for the most part, I got a good percentage of the big deer have been shot the 2016 season.
So that's exactly what I wanted to do today, was kind of do the 2016 hunting season by the numbers. See, not that it's about killing giant deer, but it is exciting. And there's nobody better to talk to this about than Cam. Cam is known all over the world on Facebook for his documentation of numbers, his data tracking. So kudos to Cam, because you do such a good job.
It's I guess, more of a hobby, and I enjoy it. And like I said, I don't have them all sometimes, and I get info from some other people and do the best I can when stuff pops up through social media and other outlets. Try to keep track of them all. It's a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, for sure it is. But before we start, Cam, I got one little announcement I want to make to all the listeners, that excited to kind of bring the news that Take Aim will be at the annual ATA show. We will be broadcasting live in the Plytho Gear booth, which is, if you're going to be at the show, it's booth number 3000. But we will be doing the shows via live on the Plytho Gear Facebook live feed. So make sure you check that out. And if we can get enough internet, basically enough internet signal, we're going to do it, on the Take Aim page as well. But we'll be on the Facebook live page, from the Plytho Facebook. So make sure you check that out. We got some great guests like Jay Gregory, Dan Perez, Jeff Danker. So a lot of great whitetail hunters, many more. But you'll get to see us do it live, which I think is pretty exciting. And I know, Cam, you love that stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun listening to everybody's take on the outdoors, hunting and all that. It's always like to hear the stories that they like to share. And
yeah, I'm excited to bring that to everybody. I think it's a good opportunity for me and Take Aim, and just honored to kind of have this kind of come up, and thank you to the great people at Plytho Gear. But looking forward to talking to a lot of great guests, and like Cam said, just hearing everybody's kind of ins and outs of how they hunt and go about business.
Yeah,
so with that said, Cam, what's going on in the whitetail world? So what are we looking at as far as 2016? How did we do as a whole here?
Well,
this past season, I should say.
I look at numbers a lot from years ago and from this current trends through the decades and, like I said, the past years. And it seems like to me, 2016, real good top end year. A lot of big deer shot in 2016 season. Flip the coin back 30 years ago in 1986 was a lot of big deer shot. I don't know if that has any bearing on it, but it just seemed like here we are 30 years later and just pile of big deer shot again. And it was that way in 1985 and 2015. There was a lot of big deer shot also, so maybe it'll spill over to 2017 as well. But anyway, there was some real impressive deer shot this season. It's not over yet in all the states, but where do you want to start, with typical or non-typical first for the year in 2016?
Well, let's start with typicals. And like Cam said, let's be the first to say some of the seasons aren't over yet. And obviously there's probably a deer or two out there, as we know, Cam, that nobody's maybe talked about or nobody scored. So this is by the numbers, and that's what Cam is really good at. Like I said, Cam is known all over for this. So if it's documented somewhere, Cam knows the numbers. So I'm glad you started the show like that, Cam. I really wanted to hear about where we placed, as far as the past couple hunting season has gone. So it sounds like 2016 was pretty banner.
Yeah, it was real strong, it seemed like. I know some areas of the Midwest were hit pretty bad with DHD and the drought years caused some problems, but every state had some real big deer taken out of it. But I'll run some numbers by you here, just starting what I jotted down on the top of this notebook page. And looking like right now the best typical buck that I've seen this year, and I haven't got an official score yet, but there's a big crossbow kill out of Clayton County, Ohio, Stephen Davis, who was I've got a number of 194 and 6/8 mid, and I've seen another number of 195 mid. This real big, 10 point, 26 inches wide, super tall, just an awesome looking buck. There was another one recently shot with a shotgun in Ohio by a 17-year-old kid. It was 194 and 3/8 mid, gross 218 total bone, shot in Morrow County, Ohio. And everybody was thinking that might have been that famous OG buck, but OG's down in Ross County, and it looks like on the map they're probably 100 miles away, maybe. But it's not the same deer. I mean, they're both 7x7 typicals, which is kind of unusual. I mean, that's a really unusual deer. Awesome deer, though. But those two right now are the top typicals right there, neck and neck, that I've seen. And like I said, there's some that haven't been come out of the woodwork yet, I should say. I've heard some stuff, but I don't want to give false info or hearsay numbers to y'all. But and then the third one, everybody's heard about the Austin Pontier buck out of Clark County, Iowa, the big 7x7, and there's been no score on that yet. He shot that back in November the 5th or 6th, and kind of still a mystery what that deer scores, but it's going to be up there real high too. I think it's going to be challenging for the top typical so far this year killed. So those are the top three typicals on that side. I mean, I've got some more down the list I can run through with you.
Yeah, go ahead and run through. I'm pretty shocked, kind of, Cam. Usually when you hear Ohio, you always think of big non-typicals. So it's kind of funny to hear two of the top typicals coming from Ohio.
Ohio's been really strong. I mean, they do it right. I like how they have it's a late firearm after the rut. I mean, it's common sense to tell you why those states are good. But anyway, there was a big bow kill in Wisconsin, 193 gross, 10 point. I don't have a lot of the details on it. The guy's name I did have, but I was just, like I said, jotting down, looking through my phone. And but I know it's a big 10 point there in Wisconsin. Probably going to net in the mid-80s, I'd imagine. Now, there's one buck we're talking about, some deer that haven't been scored, and I've only seen one picture of it. It's out of the northern part of Missouri, I think, and they say they grossed 206, a big 10 point, big clean 10, had a broken brow pull for brow tine, rifle kill. I haven't been able to track any info down on it, though. But I mean, it looks every bit of that big, unless it's a good picture, but it's a giant, and like I said, I haven't, that's all I can tell you on that one, but the numbers over that,
those are
really strong.
all really strong typicals. What I always find interesting when, it comes down to it, we know that it's the net score, so out of those, Cam, which couple or which one or two was obviously the bigger of the deer? Was it the 218?
Actually, that Stephen Davis 10 point, I would say right now it's the biggest typical kill that we know that's got a number attached to it. You know what I mean? Of course, it's not dry yet, and I'm waiting still on the Austin Pontier buck out of Iowa. And there's maybe one or two more. Like I said, I've heard some rumors floating around, but I can't say yet because I really don't know. But the 218 gross that Josh Cruz killed her out of Morrow County, Ohio, it is a real cool deer. It's a 7x7. But on the other hand, that Stephen Davis 194, 195 net typical is only 10 points, so it has fewer times and scores just as much, maybe a few eighths inches more, which is really impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive. I'm really curious too, Cam, is which score, because there's some Facebook posts out there about what's who's the kid from Iowa? Is it Austin? Is that what you said?
Austin, yeah. I'm real curious on that buck. I've heard some numbers, and you're going to hear this, hear that, and I don't like to throw anything out there until I know from a reliable source and know that I haven't heard anything on it, though, as far as the numbers.
It looks huge. That's all I got.
Yeah, it looks really big.
It looks huge.
It looks really big, yeah. Carries awesome mass, and it's got a lot of points to score. I mean, and that helps right there. When you got that many tines to measure, it's going to help tine length and a lot of tines and long beams. Doesn't take much when you got 14 points, Doesn't take as much, it seems. But, yeah, real cool deer. I'm real curious to see what it ends up when the smoke clears. There was a big, the pictures floating around also, a big 10-point out of Kansas killed with a bow later in November. It was a 187 gross, 183 typical. It looked real big in the picture, which 183 is no slouch, man. It's a huge deer, but it looked over 200 or right around 200 typical. But it was shot there on Junction City, Kansas, back in late November. As a real awesome deer. And look at my sheet here real quick. Yeah. There's a big a woman out of Indiana shot a 182 typical with a bow. That's what it netted, gross 190. And ironically, she shot a net boon last year with a bow, which is, those are really crazy odds.
That is, what part of Indiana was that, Cam?
Putnam County.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good area up there around Park Putnam. I still have always said that's one of my favorite areas. When I drove through there and been around that area, it's just real strong area up there. And yeah, I think her last year's buck was 170 net around the button, maybe a few eighths of an inch over, and then this year's, what would you go figure, another net boon. That's really impressive itself right there.
And she knows what she's doing.
Something. Yeah, got her stuff together for sure. There's another buck that I got pictures of out of, I would call it South Central Iowa. Not a lot of people know about it. The kid's name, I think, Van Fleet. Kyle Van Fleet, I think sounds right. It was a big 6x6 typical frame with a few abnormals, but I'm just talking to a buddy about it today. And I said, I'm real curious what that deer ended up scoring. It had like 12-inch brow tines, and the math on every tine just looked like dowel pins. It's huge deer. I'm real curious what it scores. It's got to be way up there. I'm not saying it'll net real good, but it looks incredible. It's just shock value. It's one of the best deer I've seen this year. It's a real cool deer. It's got to be, I would think, in the high 180s net when it's all said and done on the typical side. That looks about like all the typical side I have as far as some of the top end deer out of 2016 this year. And like I said, they were all over. You had Ohio with a couple, in Iowa with a couple, Wisconsin, Missouri. I don't know much about the Missouri one. I've been hearing about a big one out of Illinois, but I don't know. Like I said, big typical. It's going to really supposed to have some incredible numbers, but I don't know much else about it. That's really all I can say about it.
I was just going to say that. It was funny. As of yet, you didn't mention Illinois because usually there's one big typical that comes out of there that's, close to that, 190 to 200 range.
Well, there's one that's flirting with that, I'm sure, easily. If I've got a picture of the deer, I haven't heard any numbers on it. It looks like it could easily do that, but it's still kind of been a mystery, too. And it was shot back in mid-October. Just nothing's really surfaced more about it. Kind of a waiting game sometimes, and sometimes, people don't want to get out of it. It's harder now with social media. When something gets out like that, it takes off like wildfire.
It does, and I'll be the first to say, Cam, that I'll probably be one of those guys where there'll be like mystery about it if I ever shot a big one. Because I've actually never scored any of my deer. My friends will do it, or somebody in camp.
Yeah.
I don't do it. If it's a big deer, it's a big deer, and I'm cool with it. I know the scores, but I don't ever score myself. It sounds kind of funny, but that's just how I am.
Yeah, like I said, chasing numbers, it's fun to see where they all stack up and come from. But if it's a big deer, it's a big deer, regardless of the score. I'll be first to tell you. I've seen some incredibly big 8 points that just blow you away just because the size of them, and they're outscored by them. I should call it an average 10-point. They'll be outscored by it, but I can't take nothing away from a big 8-point or something along that line, that's an incredible deal when you got a 8 point that scores in the high 50s, 160 with a huge frame, and you got a 10 point that scores 165, 170. Don't look near as big. Well, because it doesn't. You got 2 extra points. If you got, 7-inch G4s out there, you're 14 inches added right there to the score. So it doesn't take as much. But,
yeah, that's true. I've always admired big 8 points, really big 8 points. A big 8 point just in general, even at 130 inches is cool looking. you know.
Yeah.
So there's just something about an 8-pointer, especially an upper end one, that is just kind of mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, I mean, just to attain those type of numbers is really cool. But so yeah, like I said, that's all I've got on the typical side. I may be leaving some out on typical and non-typical. When people listen to this, they may think, well, you forgot this too. And like I said, I try to keep track of them all. It's hard sometimes. I get emails or notifications on Facebook or text sent to me. It seems like all the time my phone's going crazy. During peak times of the year, it's always real interesting. Or in the spring when I go to these deer shows, travel around and go to these different states deer shows, I see some deer that I've never seen or see deer that I have seen on Facebook. Then you see them in person, you're like, wow, they're a lot more impressive. It's always fun to see them then in person. But so I guess we can shift gears over the.
Yeah, let's shift gears, Cam. But run me off the top 3 typical scores you had there. Just run them out.
194 and 6/8. The Ohio buck Stephen Davis. 194 and 3/8. The Josh Cruz Ohio 7x7. And I'll throw Austin Pontier's buck in there 7x7 also because I logically assume that deer's going to net in the 190s at least, I would imagine. And then there's a few that are going to be mid-80s net score, but those are the top 3. You got 3 of a 190 so far, and there might be a couple more, but I can't include yet. But that's pretty.
No, that's fine. Numbers. That's what we wanted to hear was just those numbers.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat just to hear the numbers again. So, but yeah, let's roll these non-typicals, see what you got.
All righty, hold on 1 second. Let me jot something down so I don't forget something. I was just thinking of another deer. Let's see. Well, the big news on non-typical side is, which is kind of hard to believe, is a big deer out of Tennessee that they're saying is going to be world record possibly overall on the non-typical side. So
let's talk about that for 1 second. Tennessee. How strange is that to hear Tennessee?
It's real strange. I mean, but if you get a deer to get some age, you can do it. It's not unbelievably impossible. If they get age, they've got a chance. I mean, southern states like that, you don't hear about it as much. But it's possible. Like I said, it all goes back to age and get the right genetics, get lucky on the genetics, and you can do it. But, I mean, for example, the Alabama, who would think they've always produced some pretty good deer. The Alabama state record non-tip's 259. I mean, who would have thought of a deer that big? And that was shot over 25 years ago, you know. So it's very possible. But that deer out of Tennessee, it has been taped by a Boone and Crockett score. Initially, right now, it's sitting at 308 and 3/8, which would put it 6/8 of an inch higher than the current world record, which is out of Iowa. So I imagine when it dries and they rescore, it's going to be real close. It might edge it might not, but it's going to be real close when it's all said and done.
It looks like a rack that you would almost think if there is any kind of shrinkage, that would have it, sort of, because there's a lot going on there.
From what I've learned on just from scoring over the years and been around scores and also guys that handle a lot of antler, it seems like the mass, you lose some inches from the mass shrinking in the inside spread, and that's about it. And I wouldn't say the deer's going to shrink 3 or 4 inches, but it shrinks some here and there, you know, on the main measurements. And I can see it losing 6/8 of an inch, so it's going to be interesting. It'll be real close.
So we have a 308 out of Tennessee. What else we got, Ken?
This is kind of unbelievable again, I guess, but out of Iowa, another one. A 305 gross non-tip bow kill shot around the 21st, I think, of November. Possible new state record bow kill in the non-typical category. It's mind-boggling to think that the record keeps getting broken in Iowa. I mean, in 2008, a buddy of mine shot the state record 275 and 5/8, and I didn't think that deer would get broke. Kyle Simmons buck. Well, 4 years later, Ryan Stoltz shot a 278 and 2/8 out of western Iowa. And now, looks like this Derek Seek buck, when it gets official scored, I'm hearing it's going to net around 288, 289 non-typical, so it's going to beat the current record by more than 10 inches. And, I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Unreal.
Keep doing that. I know. I mean, yeah, it's something that they keep breaking that record. I mean, I would have never thought that Kyle's deer at 275 would even get touched. And you're looking at a 289, 290 potentially net non-tip, depending. I mean, when it gets in the hands of the store and here in a month and a half or so when it dries, and then I'll know. So I was talking to one of Derek's friends. I know him pretty well about that deer, and I told him, I said, make sure you get that to a score right at 60 days. That way you'll know, I mean, what you got, I guess. And that's all they're waiting on right now. But I'm real curious myself to see where that ends up. It's got a lot of points. I think it's got 39 or 40 points. Shot it up in northeast Iowa, which is, I wouldn't say that's the best area, but historically it's always been a good area for numbers of Boone and Crockett deer. But everybody always flocks, it seems like, to south central Iowa, southern Iowa. I mean, and it's super good down there. But some of those areas like western and northeast Iowa sometimes get overlooked. Like I said, this deer came out of there, out of Fayette County, and big deer. I haven't really heard much of the story on it. They told me they'd tell me the story when I come to the Iowa Deer Show. They'd tell me the story in person, get to see the deer in person. So that'd be a treat.
Yeah, for sure. And for the life of me, I cannot at all picture what this deer looks like, and it's driving me nuts. But I know it happened, and I know I've seen it. But there was so many big deer this year. I think my brain's just at capacity at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, you got that many points too. Excuse me. It helps a ton. It's got a huge typical frame. I mean, when you get something that scores that high, 300 inches, you're gonna have to have a big typical frame, or just a bunch of points. You're gonna have both. I mean, you're really gonna have about everything. It's gonna have a typical frame, 200 or better, I would imagine, and then throw in all the abnormals after that and see where it settles when it's done. But going on down the list now, those are real big ones shot in Miami County, Indiana. It's funny, I had pictures. A friend of a friend that my brother works with sent me some pictures of this deer. They were watching it through the summer, and I have velvet pictures of the deer on my phone from back in August or whatever. You know how, like I said, social media stuff gets passed around. Well, they had somebody that ended up killing the deer over in Miami County, Indiana, and it's a real big deer too. The first number I heard on it was 260, and I think it's gonna be right up around there. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. It's 260 non-tip, which is unbelievable. It's a real big deer. Not too far from where I grew up, actually, just east of where I grew up in Indiana. That 260 was shot. So
huge.
Yeah, giant deer. So I got several pictures of it, and I looked at the picture truck, or they were actual still camera pictures of it back in August. I was told, and also agreeing, it looked like 230s or so, but you never know. You get them down, and that's what they're saying. It's 260, so that's a real big one. There was another one shot in the gun kill out of western Iowa, 248. Heard 246, 248 non-tip, double drop time out of western Iowa. Killed this season, 2016. And I've got some pictures in I've seen. There was a 240 non-tip bow kill out of southern Iowa. That's been kind of quiet, but I know it's going to be in the gross 240s. And it's probably going to get overshadowed some just for the fact that 305 was shot out of northeast Iowa. You know, I mean, you won't hear about it, and there's 240s humongous. But you got one up in northeast Iowa. Yeah, you got one out of northeast Iowa that's 65 inches bigger, which is hard to imagine. But
so it's ridiculous, especially in the same state. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. There was a 225 non-tip bow kill out of Lynn County, Iowa, which is around Cedar Rapids. Well, which is Cedar Rapids. It's real cool deer. It had like 6 drop times. So I've got some pictures of it. Looked through it one day, and I was kind of figuring up the numbers, and then eventually I got word what it scored. I think it's around right at 225, something like that, and some change. But I don't think the kid ever knew about the deer. Just came by one day and shot it.
That happens a lot, as we know.
Yeah. Let's see, and get going on the list here a little more. We got there was a 245 gross non-tip rifle kill out of Kansas. That's a real cool deer. I've seen a couple of pictures of it. Real massive, a lot of points on it. There was a 232 gross non-tip bow kill out of north central Kansas. It was cool deer. I think it was double drop time, if I remember right. Like I said, I had to go through all my pictures of the day on my phone because they're just getting too unorganized. I had to go through and put them by the state and by the year. This year I haven't done the past ones just because I kind of know which ones those are when I look at them. I can remember real quick. But this year I started putting them in fours of which year they were killed. I need to keep adding more info to them, but it takes a lot more time because it took me a while to sort through all the pictures I have. It was a 244 gun kill out of Ohio, 244 gross. That's a big non-tip I've heard of Ohio, I believe, this year.
Which was, by the way, another huge one. I know exactly what year you're talking about, and it's pretty awesome. Look.
Yep. Those are real nice bow kill out of western Missouri. Shot back in October, 235 non-tip at gross. Real cool deer.
That was early season, right, Cam? Kind of early.
21st October. That was a good day because Mark Drury killed a big deer the 21st October in Iowa. Mark Drury shot a 217, I think is what his big bow kill.
Yep,
but
exactly.
It got cold that day around the Midwest, and there was some big deer shot that day. I've always said the 21st October is when the door starts opening up for the season to get good from that day on. But yeah, it was kind of ironic. 235 non-tip out of Missouri, and then Mark Drury's 217 out of Iowa non-tips with bow the same day.
Yeah, that is amazing. And logically, it's. Oh wait, you said that guy was in western Missouri, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Bates County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bates. And then surprising state, which I see a lot of good deer come out of this year, was Oklahoma, and they've always been pretty good. But there was a 244 gross non-tip rifle kill out of Oklahoma and a 219 gross deer killed out of Oklahoma also. And the 219 is real impressive because I think it was based off a typical 6-point frame because the brow tine was broke off and towering tall. I mean, it looked like it had 14, 15-inch G2 and G3s. It's a huge tall rack. The shock value on that thing in person has got to be amazing. Real impressive deer.
Now, I know maybe it's that deer, Cam, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the one that guy actually took on Oklahoma public land?
I'm not sure. So many of them come through, and I need to jot down little notes by each one of them more, I guess. But I'm not sure on which one was shot on public, which one, if the ones I'm talking about weren't.
Well, the one that guy shot on public land is actually contender for potentially the state record. So it was obviously a very big deer from the post I've seen.
Yeah, I'll have to go back through some of my posts and look at that, but I think I know what you're talking about now. It must be, like I said, that higher of the two. Like I said, I don't know for sure on that. Certainly that overshadows the others. It seems like it's hard to keep track of a lot of them sometimes, but yeah, potentially though. There'll be some others, like I said, come through or even shot. I mean, there's a lot of season left in Iowa. Right now, the muzzleloader season's going on, and it doesn't go out until January the 10th. There's always some big deer shot. Late in the year, it gets cold like this, and Ohio's doesn't go out until February, first week of February, which sounds crazy. I know. I would be afraid to shoot them and the antlers pop off when I'm dragging them out or something, But
yeah, I would too.
That scares me. But last year, I mean, the second biggest. This is funny to say. The second biggest non-tip shot last year was that Dave Kopp buck out of I can't think of the county right now in Ohio, but it was 265 net. He shot with a crossbow like February 1st last year. It's hard to believe. I mean, you're out still deer hunting and shoot a 265 in February. He still had both sides of his rack,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Stark County, that's it. I believe it was out of Stark County. Pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, that deer just kind of appeared real late like that, and heck of a deer, 265, real awesome.
Yeah, that is. So, rapid fire, Cam, give me the top 3 to 5 biggest non-typical scores.
The Stephen Tucker Tennessee bucks at 308 and 3/8, and that is a net score. Derek Seek out of Fayette County, Iowa, 305 gross, looking at high 280s, non-tip net. You got the Miami County, Indiana buck at 260 gross, and 248 out of western Iowa, double drop time gun kill. 245 rifle kill out of Kansas, 244 out of Oklahoma. So roughly though, yeah, you're looking probably from 260 to 305, 308, right in there, the top 3 or 260.
Yeah, that's big deer.
2 over 300 this year. So yeah, that's pretty impressive.
That is super impressive. So overall, it seems like it was a awesome year. if you ask me,
Yeah.
for upper end deer, and it's always exciting to, not that it's all about big racks, but it's nonetheless exciting to track it and hear some of the numbers.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still kind of, after I get off the phone with you here, I'm going to probably sit down and try and figure out some of these ones that I missed that you were asking about or talking about, and just try to, I don't know, see what's going on with the numbers still. Also different info probably, maybe on some of the stuff. Nothing's changing major on the top end stuff, but like the Oklahoma one, and I heard about it. I should have probably been more on that. But some of these numbers will be here in a month or so. We'll know the net scores on them, because I'm sure these guys are going to get them when they're dry. They're going to get them scored, or some of these deer shows coming up this January, February, March, then it'll really get out there. And yeah, it's been a pretty stellar year, I would say.
Heck yeah, and hopefully between now and ATA or the Iowa Deer Show, we can meet up and we'll chat about some of these other deer as well.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I look forward to it, definitely. I see how everything pans out and plays out. But yeah, it's looking forward to them all, to see which ones I can get to and check all this out. But it's always fun, like I said, to track it and see what's going on with it. But see different trends and where the big deer come from, why they do. But I got a good idea why a lot of them are coming from where they're coming from. It's just pretty much common sense.
It is, and yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. But nonetheless, wanted to say thanks, Cam, for your work on doing this and being part of the show today. And anytime you're welcome to be back on, just give me a holler.
All right, it sounds good. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem. And I forgot to mention the ATA show is actually for January 10th, 11th, to 12th. So those are the days we'll be doing the live show on the Plato Facebook feed. And make sure to follow us every Tuesday, podbros.com, outdoorpodcastchannel.com, iTunes. Leave us a review. And, hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And, Cam, thanks again.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks a bunch.